I think we just found the Erika Kirk Patrick Clancy connection, and it's terrifying. So there's a pretty obvious connection tying Erika Kirk to Patrick Clancy. And once you see it, very difficult to unsee. So we know Erika Kirk's husband was, we know Patrick Clancy and Lindsay Clancy's kids were also killed. On paper, these cases might not appear to have anything to do with each other, which is exactly why it took me so long to connect this. The connection is right there in the timeline. So look at the footage from Utah. Look at the footage from the courtroom in Massachusetts. If you watch them back to back, you would swear Erika Kirk and Patrick Clancy were sitting in the exact same room. It looks like they walked into a green room, sat across from each other, and took orders from the same exact person. They didn't, but there is a connection, and the connection between Erika Kirk and Patrick Clancy is horrifying. It's like they're reading from the same script without ever really talking about it. Once you see it, you will realize quickly that these are not two separate conversations at all. And I'm going to show you. And real quick, if you're new here, I'm Lauren Paritra. Willa Paritra and I, we do this every single day out of pure principle and as a measure to keep you safe from Stephen Miller, who is always lurking in the dark. He could be anywhere. If you hear kind of something in the attic, if you hear something hissing beneath the sink, it could be Stephen Miller. And I need you guys to stay safe. I need you to take extra precautions. Hit subscribe, leave us a comment, 6 words or more. Hype this video if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star rating if you're listening on Spotify or Apple. The haters don't want us to be great. And so let's first talk about Patrick Clancy. I need to show you some videos. So this first one is his mother-in-law.
You said, I think she was begging for help, right?
She was.
Did you attend any of those meetings with her therapists or doctors?
No.
So you don't know what she told the providers, right?
I don't know.
And you don't know what kind of help she asked for other than medication, do you?
No.
And do you know whether there was any other options offered to her other than McLean, like a partial hospitalization program or intensive outpatient? Were you aware of those options?
Yeah.
And do you know if she went?
She went to Women and Infants.
So that's the one day where Pat dropped her off and went skiing and then came back, right?
I believe so.
She asked you about options that were available to Lindsay, correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned one of them was that she could go to the Women and Infants program in Rhode Island that specializes in perinatal and postpartum, right?
Yes.
You know that she went there, right?
Correct.
You know she was turned away because she was over-medicated, right?
Yes.
You also know that they gave her numbers to call suicide hotlines, right?
Yes.
She called twice, not once, but twice, and again was turned away. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So in this clip, it's from CBS News. It's from the testimony on August 18th. Lindsay Clancy's mother-in-law, Susan Clancy, former mother-in-law, who also, from what I understand, is a labor and delivery nurse, which Lindsay was too, confirms that Patrick Clancy went skiing right after Lindsay Clancy was hospitalized. Mind you, their youngest was on life support for 3 days following this, before he passed. So the comments are, she should have been saved. She reached out for help. Okay, hold on to that, right? Also think about Erika Kirk in the days after Charlie Kirk. Now, take a look at this video.
Well, this is very, very interesting. Look who was in Costa Rica in February of 2023. Let me introduce you to Sammy For You. Costa Rica was a blast. This trip was all about getting out of my comfort zone, from eating fish eyes to ziplining down, covering myself with mud, surfing, swimming in the ocean, first and foremost traveling to a foreign country and meeting amazing people. February 6, 2023. And who was she with? Placing my vote for Sammy as MVP of the trip. Sammy then tags her friends. Not even. You guys are the best. And look who she includes. Dr. Rachel Dennis. Is that our friend? Dr. Dennis? I think it is. But Sammy confirmed it. Thank you, Sammy. Wasn't that around the same time Patrick Clancy was in Costa Rica? February of 2023, right after his kids were unalived? That's not suspicious. That's not odd at all.
could have been an isolated incident. Let's just say that for a second. Now watch this. Listen to what Lindsay Clancy's neighbors said.
I'm just gonna leave this here.
My son had called me at 10 to 6 last night. And he had told me that the mother was laying down in the backyard. And then the police were just starting to show up.
So where is that neighbor? Okay. Now, if you haven't seen the connection between Patrick Clancy's new wife and Lindsay Clancy, take a look at this. So if you're watching or listening, not watching, there's a video and it is a split screen of Lindsay Clancy's face and the new wife, who's a doctor who Lindsay Clancy was a labor and delivery nurse. This doctor is a endocrine and fertility doctor, MD, identical. Literally identical. Now, not convinced yet? Now let's look at this.
Does anybody think it's weird that Patrick Clancy's new wife, no, not that she looks exactly like Patrick Clancy's ex-wife, no. Does anybody think it's weird that Patrick Clancy's new wife, no, not that they moved in together 4 months after Patrick Clancy's now ex-wife allegedly offed all of his children? Does anybody think it's weird that Patrick Clancy's new wife, no, not that she's a fertility doctor and knows exactly what postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis does to a woman? Does anybody think it's weird that Patrick Clancy's new wife, no, not that they already had a baby together, no. Does anybody think it's weird that Patrick Clancy's new wife became his new wife in April of this year, knowing that there was going to be a trial later on in the year? And knowing that wives can't testify against their husbands in a court of law?
I want to make one correction. I believe wives obviously can testify against their own husbands. I don't believe they can be forced to. There's some nuance there. I'm not a legal specialist, or I have no legal expertise, let's be honest. So let me just move on to the next example, because this is, see where I'm going with this? Do you see the pattern of weird behavior between the two? But that's not it. There is a literal connection between Erika Kirk and Patrick Clancy. Now watch this.
Be careful when you look up information about Lindsay Clancy, because I thought that these pictures were both of pictures of Lindsay. If you're like, well, that looks like Patrick and Lindsay, that's Patrick, but that's not Lindsay. No, he didn't marry Lindsay's twin. This woman just looks like Lindsay's twin. This being Patrick Clancy's new wife that he married April of 2026. The same woman he ultimately ended up moving in with after moving from Massachusetts after his family was killed to New York City 4 months after the incident. Again, this being Lindsay Clancy and this being his new wife. Not only are both of these women in the medical field, Lindsay Clancy we know was a labor and delivery nurse, Dr. Rachel Danis, a fertility specialist. So both of these women specialize in women having children. Not only do these women look like the same person, Lindsay's replacement Rachel is also an athlete the same as Lindsay. He runs marathons she now runs with Patrick. Similar hobbies, nearly identical career paths, and nearly identical physical features. No wonder there is so much wild speculation that Patrick was having an affair with his now wife while still with Lindsay and his kids.
Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra commentary on this one. As a marathon runner, I've run 22 marathons. I've paced marathons. I've trained people on running marathons. Gotta say, most people don't get into marathon running because none of our screws are loose. There's a lot of people that are suffering from the disease of addiction, that are sober, that get into marathon running because we have those like addictive, like little bit of trauma tendencies. And it's a really powerful mind-body way to kind of work through it, channel your energy, release, all this stuff. So a lot of people get into marathon running and we're all a little bit, dare I say, damaged. I say that as one. So I also, marathon runners are a little bit weird. Sorry guys, I'm one. I have my crew of friends and like whatever, but then the broader group sometimes gives a little adult little league. So I don't really socialize too much with them outside of my like core friends. And today's episode is brought to you by Quince. You know that feeling when summer starts to wind down and you can actually breathe for a second? That's August for me. I actually have time to think about things like, do I actually need a 17 white tank tops or a t-shirt? Spoiler alert, I don't. But what I do need is the right pieces. Pieces that work harder than I do. And that's exactly what I found with Quince. Quince isn't about quantity, it's about quality. They specialize in those effortless, high quality essentials that actually make getting dressed every day easier. We're talking about ultra soft organic cotton basics, premium cashmere sweaters that actually feel like a hug, and everything is so beautifully tailored that it actually fits your body. So these pieces transition seamlessly from morning streams, morning meetings, or anything straight through to dinner without you having to think about it. And here's the thing that really got me. Everything at Quince costs 50 to 80% less than similar brands. How? Because they work directly with ethical factories and skip all the middleman markup. So you're actually paying for quality, not a logo. So for me, it's their sunnies, it's their basics like tanks. I've had their duvet since I moved into this home. My designer recommended them, and the rest is history because it's affordable, quality, clean. I'm a Quince fan for life kind of vibe. So beyond the apparel, Quince brings the same everyday elevation to hotel quality bedding and bath, kitchen staples, travel essentials, and furniture that's actually thoughtfully designed. It's not just about looking good, it's about living well. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Lauren. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns, now available in Canada and the UK too. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/Lauren, LOREN. So without knowing too much about psychosis other than the statistics and research that I've done that is very surface level and non-clinical, I can speak from my own experience with like chronic health and chronic illness, where oftentimes I am dismissed, throughout the times that I've needed care and help from doctors because they're like, well, you appear healthy, you look healthy and all of that. But I was like, at times when I was really struggling with chronic illness, when I had this environmental hazard that I was living in for 5 years, that's another story. I was losing all this weight. I had brain inflammation. I was feeling depressed. I was just overall really not doing well, chronic migraines, all of these things. My lips would turn purple sometimes, and I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. And I was dismissed by so many doctors because they were like, you look normal and you're presenting normal and you can speak normal. And I was like, somebody fucking like help me figure out what's going on. And so that's also a curse of presenting normal. Again, I don't have expertise in postpartum psychosis, but I can speak from my own experience with like just health. So one last thing I'm going to show you.
One reason why a lot of women are suspicious of Patrick Clancy and that could he have actually done this stuff is this case that just happened. This man, who is also a marathon runner, if anybody knows my work, I have had a boot on marathon runners' necks for a long time. Some of the most selfish fathers on the planet run marathon. Not all marathon runners, okay? This man, who is a father of 2 children, a toddler and a baby, this dude right here, Father of the Year, outdoorsman, climber, loving husband, father, was all over Facebook writing all these paragraphs about how much he just loved being a dad and his wife. Her throat and blamed it on postpartum depression because he was having an affair. Allegedly, but he just got arrested. Look at this case. This case right here. He literally, it seems like her throat in bed, dragged her body to the bathtub while a baby and toddler, his children, were in the house, and then called 911 and said she had postpartum depression and took her own life. And he just also happened to be having an affair. This is a Christopher Watts case all over, except he didn't actually kill his kids too. His affair partner thought that they were separated and that he was going to get a divorce. And one of the reasons why this man got caught is because she called the police to do a wellness check because he wasn't texting her and flirting with her. This makes me sick. And one of the reasons why I talk so much crap about men in the outdoors, somebody who worked with and lived around and even intense with outdoor men for a long time. Some are lovely, love y'all, you know who you are. So many men in this world are just as misogynistic and hateful and entitled as Republican men.
Ouch. Okay. Now, the last piece that I'm going to show you right here, get this.
Okay, let's just be stupid for a moment and pretend that like Patrick and Rachel over here met after all of this happened and that she had no involvement in any of this, right? What woman in her right mind would meet a guy who's like, hey, so like 4 months ago, my kids were murdered by my wife who had postpartum psychosis. And then after that, I ran a marathon. But like, you know, besides all that, I'm like ready to get back out there. Like, she's just like, you're just the kind of guy I would love to be involved with. And I'm sure you had nothing to do with any of that. And you're just the victim in the situation. And did you say you ran a marathon? Oh my God, I love to run too.
Okay, so in the comments here, somebody writes, he knew Rachel in college. He did not just meet her. Okay, and there's a lot of discourse online about the timeline in which he moved to New York, his trips to New York before it all went down, and a lot of speculation that he didn't just meet this woman that he's now married to, that was Lindsay Clancy's twin, that there was likely something going on before. So hold on to that. So the same people Lindsay Clancy allegedly is, facing trial for kids in the basement of a house in Duxbury. Then she allegedly threw herself out the second story window. She lived. Her psychiatrist documented postpartum psychosis, which is an illness that shows up in 1 or 2 births out of 1,000 and carries a 4% infanticide risk that when nobody catches it. She did, as far as I'm concerned, everything she could to seek help. She was begging doctors for help. She was taking medications. She was constantly asking for help and support. She was not to be left alone. She was supposed to be under supervision. That didn't happen. Something detonated, and we don't know really. The trial is going down now, so we don't know the outcome. I want to say Katie Miller and those types are now throwing themselves into the ring, just as they've done with other things like Erika Kirk. So Katie Miller wrote, hormones are a hell of a drug, but they don't make you your children. Tyler Bauer, Turning Point USA. Earn 3 kids while evading your mental illness. $1 million. Avita Duffy Alfonso. That is Eyebrows McGee's wife, who looks like a child herself. It's creepy. And I feel like Avita really looks like a child. She speaks like a child. Like, come on. So she told men to walk away from women who believe postpartum psychosis is real, because when a woman who believes that, she can't be trusted around children. Now, here's the part where it gets sideways. We now have 4 deaths, 2 families, and we have Erika Kirk and we have Patrick Clancy, both displaying behaviors that they never went through what they experienced. We also have 2 very interesting possible explanations for each. So let's talk about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. They tried to blame Tyler Robinson's ideology on the reason that he got onto the roof, and they dropped that one immediately, though. Lindsay Clancy's children, the one explanation that the conservative media and also some centrists, Democrats, all are running with, she's evil, she's selfish. I tend to believe that this was a psychiatric emergency and it went uncaught and not properly treated by the people treating her. And I think they failed her. And I think what happened is absolutely horrible, horrific. These 2 things can exist at once, both. So the same crowd attacked her that also attacked Tyler Robinson's supposed ideology, not. So the pattern which gets deleted when it comes to explaining these things and the connection every time is that, in the case of Charlie Kirk, gun policy could be one possible solution. In the case of Lindsay Clancy, better postpartum awareness, education, postpartum psychiatric care could also be a go-forward solution. What's left over is just stories about bad individuals which require nothing from anyone. So if a tragedy comes from a system failure, the blame gets spread out. Sometimes it lands on people who are like, hey, let's talk about specific policies. Others, sometimes they just would rather take the NRA money, like in the case of Erika Kirk, and pretend that gun violence is not a real issue. Here's where the Heritage Foundation comes in, the authors of Project 2025, because we're seeing a lot of key themes in the discourse. When it comes to Clancy, Turning Point USA, Avita Duffy, Katie Miller, these mouthpieces for the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, they are fully guzzling the Kool-Aid and or being paid, and it's just a guess, I don't know, to peddle this belief system, very particular belief system. And that belief system comes from a body of work in Project 2025 called Saving America by Saving the Family. In this literature, they argue that family stability comes from women accepting their natural roles as wives and mothers. No career, no aspirations, nothing more. You are just a vessel for birthing and cooking and cleaning, and that's that. That's all. Doesn't matter if your husband's narcissistic, doesn't matter if he's cheating on you, doesn't matter if you're not even in a hetero relationship. You could be a wife with a wife. They don't care. So they don't believe in anything outside of that very narrow vision for women. The document treats feminism as a disruption and proposes policy to reverse feminism, a belief that people are equal. The framework has one requirement that mothers hold, and maternal love is automatic and doesn't need maintenance, doesn't need medication, doesn't need care for postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. It just needs love, and love is going to fix it, which is the same shit Katie Miller is peddling with these fucking tweets. It's like, Katie Miller, I am sincerely so happy you have not had to experience postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression, or maybe you have and you're just fucking lying. But your lived experience does not make the lived experiences of others different than yours invalidated. Fuck you, Katie Miller. You fucking imagine like not going through something like not ever having cancer and being like, cancer's not real. I've never had it. You could just, it's a mindset shift. Fuck you, Katie Miller. So Heritage Foundation has this framework. Postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression breaks that mold for them. They put the blame on the mother whose brain fails them because it's fixable, but only with screening. We know that postpartum psychosis needs screenings, psychiatric beds, medication management, money, resource, time, somebody to help care for the family. In the meantime, they have to first start by admitting that illness is real, instead of saying they have to. Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, Saving America by the Saving Family Act, they're peddling points that say natural family runs on just the support of love and love alone, and that this illness is not real. So then when the illness gets denied, instead of the system getting examined, what does that do for people? What do these tweets do besides contribute to greater shame and greater stigma? So if there's somebody in bumfuck rural wherever who is listening to this little echo chamber of fucking fascist grifters, and they're only listening to that info, and they're just affirming each other's very narrow beliefs around what postpartum looks like. And then somebody, God forbid, experiences postpartum psychosis, and they think it's them, and they think that this is just them failing as a mother, and they don't get help, and then somebody gets harmed. And then we're right back where we started. Why don't we want to help fucking people? This is so crooked. So Heritage is the ideological source, and there is a proven chain of command that Erika Kirk follows, that Bauer follows, that Katie Miller follows, that Duffy Alfonso follows, and they operate in this very narrow, insulated, shitty Christian nationalist worldview, and they refuse to place blame on anything that can be changed by the system evolving to meet the needs of where we're at. We could have common sense gun fucking rules, and that would help with reducing school shootings. We could have more resources around postpartum care for mothers, but instead we have a bunch of grifters talking shit about shit that they don't know about, or worse, do know about, and are choosing to contribute to the problem and the shame more than having an open conversation around, this is terrible. What happened to this family is terrible. These kids, no amount of anything will ever bring these kids back. And we need to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. They don't do that. And that's why it all falls apart when you look at this framework. Project 2025 is the ultimate grift, and they are all following the same scripts. Erika Kirk, Heritage Foundation, Katie Miller, Turning Point USA, they either have a financial incentive or a power structure incentive, something in it for them at the expense of bettering society and taking care of our most vulnerable people, postpartum mothers and children. And to that I say, fuck you, Turning Point USA, and we'll be back with more.